What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. And this one is some of my final thoughts ahead of the Game Week 6 deadline. We're going to go for a big update about Erling Haaland, which I know lots of people have been waiting for, cover off all the other team news, go through bench and headaches, answer some of your questions, then a quick look at my team as well. So let's get into it. So let's start with the news that everyone's been waiting for, and that is an update on Erling Haaland. Pep Guardiola was asked about him today and simply said two words: he's ready. What he's ready for exactly, I don't know, but presumably it's going to be a start against Burnley at home in Game Week 6. And I think at this point, there's just no need to worry about his fitness and stuff like that. I will say I started to get a little bit concerned the more Pep kept saying, hopefully he'll be available for the weekend. But he was never going to play that Carabao Cup game. He's had a week's rest. He's going to start against Burnley. Could he get subbed early? Absolutely. But generally, and I know it was a little bit different against Arsenal, generally when he gets subbed early, it's because the game is won. And if the game is won, he's probably involved. So I really wouldn't worry about him at this stage. If the plan was to transfer him in, then transfer him in. If you want to go for one of Salah or Haaland on wildcard and not both, then I would definitely go for a Haaland draft. But going for both is absolutely viable if that's the way you want to play it. And I also think triple captain's viable as well. We're pretty confident at this point that Haaland's going to start. Burnley at home on paper is a great fixture. I know how well they defended against Liverpool in the low block. It's a little bit different when Man City are the home team, and lots of teams try and play against Man City like that. It doesn't mean it always works. I would be surprised if Haaland doesn't hit at least 1 XG, maybe even 1.5 against Burnley. He's absolutely capable of getting 2+ goals in this game. And remember, it's very unlikely we will have any double game weeks in the first half of the season. So if you don't use it on Haaland this week, which by the way is fine, any other time you use it, it's going to be on a single game week as well. So the chances of you getting absolutely smashed by people that triple captain later, probably not going to happen. And always remember, you can still captain those players. If everyone else decides to triple captain Salah in game week 14, you can still captain them. I've spoken about this before. People get so worried about this chip, like almost forgetting that you've still got the opportunity to captain the player later on. But I also stand by what I said the other day. If you're not feeling it this week, you've got any doubts whatsoever, just save it. There's going to be so many opportunities later on to use the chip if you want to use it in a different way or a lower owned player or something like that. It's completely up to you. But I think if your plan was to triple captain Haaland this week, I don't think there's enough doubts to not go there. And I may well play mine as well. But Haaland against Leeds at home game week 13, Salah against Sunderland at home game week 14. That's just mentioning those two players. You can use it elsewhere. The one good thing about using it now is you know Haaland's ready. You know he's going to start. Like if you really want to use it on him later on, maybe he's picked up a knock by that point and you have to look elsewhere. But I mean, Salah is not a bad player to fall back on. I mean, you could argue that Salah against Sunderland's better than Haaland this week because he's a midfielder, right? So you got the extra point for a goal, clean sheet, etc. You kind of know what you're getting this week. You don't know what you're getting later on. And for me, for example, I've still got a free hit to play, and right now I'm not sure when that will be. And who knows, maybe I want to use it in a week to get, maybe later on, without going off too much of a tangent here, maybe I sell Haaland to get Salah back, and then I want to use my free hit to get Haaland back in for one of his good weeks later on. I can also triple captain that week. So I might block myself from a good fixture later on. So I'm quite tempted to use it this week, but I'll talk about that later on. But yeah, get Haaland in, I guess, if that was always the plan. So if you know you're bringing in Haaland this week and it's part of a 2-transfer move and you're not quite sure which other player to bring in and you want a second opinion, check out the AI suggested transfers over on the My Team tool on Fantasy Football Hub. There's 50% off at the moment. Link in the description below, or scan that QR code on screen. Or you can narrow down your selections even more using the player points predictions as well. So that's just another tool they've got on the app. You can use it on the website as well. So if I say I want a midfielder, and I want to go for kind of a medium to long-term pick. So I'm going to put it game week 6 to 12. And I'm going to adjust the price because obviously Salah's quite expensive. So I'm going to go down to, if I just get the price here. My thumb is obviously not working correctly right now. I'm going to go all the way down to 7 million. So the top option, game week 6 to 12, is 7 million or less. according to the tool, is Reinders. And that is one of my favourite picks as well. That's why I bought him. You've also got Minter as an alternative at 5.9, or even Njai at 6.5. If you can afford him, that's my favourite pick. But if you want to save some money, Reinders is there as well. But that obviously works for defenders, forwards, etc. You can change the game week range and the price. There's tons of tools here as well. And if you're on wildcard or free hit this week, you can check out the AI suggested team. So this is the best Game Week 6 free hit team, or you can click on wildcard. As always, it's not to say you've absolutely got to copy this, but it might give you a second opinion if you're stuck on a few picks. So make sure to check that tool out, or all the tools out on Fantasy Football Hub. Link in the description below, or scan that QR code on screen. So let's go through some of the other bits of team news. So for Chelsea, Cole Palmer is confirmed out until after the international break. So we're not going to see him back until Game Week 8 at the earliest, which is Nottingham Forest away. And then in Game Week 9, it's Sunderland at home. If you've got him, he's probably a sell. And if you're on wildcard, I wouldn't include him. I think it's fine to have a rough plan about how you might get Palmer back. So if you're wildcarding this week, you might think, okay, I could make those two moves later on if I really wanted to get him back, but I wouldn't force it. I don't think you necessarily need a plan to get him, because even if we get to after the international break, are you going to trust his minutes? Probably not. So at that point, you'll maybe give him until Game Week 9. We'll get further updates from Reska. I don't think right now he should be a major part of our thinking in FPL, but just have in the back of your mind how you might get him in later on if you want him. Tosin is also injured, and Maresca said probably out until after the international break. So that's not necessarily a massive issue because it's Brighton at home. Then they've got Liverpool in Game Week 7, and he's cheap, so you could just bench him. But if you were planning on using him this week, you're not going to be able to now. For Liverpool, obviously Ekitike is suspended. He's probably a sell for most people at this point. On Isak, Slot said he's ready to start, then went on to say 90 minutes might be too much for him, but it depends on the pace and intensity of the game. I still think that with Palace away this week, Chelsea away in 7, it's just not worth going there for 10.5 million. I guess the case for Isak is getting better every time another premium's not an option. So with no Palmer, maybe people aren't quite sure whether to go for Saka. You could spend your money on Isak. I do not see the rush until Game Week 8, personally. Like even in Game Week 7 against Chelsea, how many minutes is he going to get? Like they might sub him early and bring Ekitike on, for example. So I'm not that interested. He also doesn't have penalties. I think sometimes great players, which is what Isak is, do sometimes become worse FPL options depending on what team they move to. Same with Eze, by the way. I think Eze was great at Crystal Palace on penalties, all set pieces, guaranteed like 80 to 90 minutes every week. He's a worse option right now at Arsenal, in my opinion. I think Isak's similar at Liverpool. He could end up being great, but I really wouldn't rush into it this week. For Brighton, De Kuyper is available just in case any of you kept him, although it's no guarantee he'll start. Gruder and Minter, I know Minter in particular, some people are looking at, had a few days off for treatment, but both trained yesterday, so they should be available. And Minter's minutes look pretty good right wing right now. And then for Leeds, Perry, the goalkeeper, won't be back until after the international break, but I don't think you can go for Darlow unless it's a really short-term move, because we don't know how long Perry is going to be out for. So for Wolves, Vita Pereira was speaking about Strand Larsen again. He said, "We are trying to go step by step. Tomorrow we will see his condition. He's not in 100% condition to play 90 minutes. We will manage him." Now, whether that means he's going to start and get subbed early or be on the bench again and maybe come on at half-time, depending on how the game is going, I don't know. But that might be enough to kind of put me off picking him. Maybe some of you are looking to go for a cheaper forward this week, either through transfers or wildcard. And the fixtures coming up for Wolves are pretty good. But I don't know if I would take the risk because he seems to have been struggling with this problem for most of the season so far. And only got 45 against Leeds last week. I think he probably does start. But the fact I can't guarantee it means that would probably be enough to put me off. Like Brighton at home in 7, not bad. Then it's Sunderland away and Burnley at home. Like these are the nice fixtures. But if you can't guarantee the minutes, surely you just wait. On wildcard, I'd probably play it ultra safe and go for players that are absolutely fit. On a transfer, I'd probably just wait and just reassess before Game Week 7. Like if he plays like 70 minutes plus against Spurs and then Vita Pereira says ahead of Brighton that he's looking better, maybe you go for him then. And I think when he's fully fit, he's a great option at that price. He's probably on penalties, but I probably wouldn't go there in most situations at the moment. Everton, Branthwaite is still out. I don't know when he's going to be back. I would still probably avoid Michael Keane, despite the guy having genuine goal threat for a very cheap price. Glasner said that Sarr and Yeremy Pino are ready to start against Liverpool. I wouldn't be surprised if Sarr comes straight back in. People might consider him as a cheap option, especially on wildcard, because after Liverpool, it's Everton away, Bournemouth at home. And then after Arsenal away in Game Week 9, it's Brentford at home, Brighton away, Wolves at home, Wolves away, Man United at home, Burnley away. Like really nice fixtures for quite a while. And this guy puts up really incredible expected goal, expected assist numbers. You know, he's already on, what is it this season so far? 2 goals from the first 3 games. Last season it was 8 goals, 7 assists. He's a really nice option for 6.4. But again, it feels bad to put a guy on wildcard or to bring a guy in that's just back from injury. I mean, Glazer said he's ready to start, and he always starts, so maybe he just will. They've also got Europe and stuff to contend with soon. I would probably dodge him on wildcard, but if you put him in, I wouldn't hate it, I would say. And then for Arsenal, Odegaard could be involved for game week 6. We'll have to wait and see. I don't think he's an FPL pick. I just think I would avoid Eze. When I mentioned Saka and Yorkresh on Twitter the other day, so many people mentioned that Eze is the one. I just don't see it at all. And the reason that I've included the Odegaard news is because that's more competition for the central positions. Like against Newcastle, right? Would anyone be shocked if Arteta goes in again with Merino, Zubamendi and Rice, and then Eze doesn't necessarily play on the left? Like that's the problem. So when Odegaard's back, you've got Odegaard, Zubamendi, Rice, Merino can all play centrally. Eze can play there as well. And on the left, you've got Trossard and Martinelli. His minutes are just not secure. 45 against City, 78 against Forest is fine, 20 against Liverpool. And obviously, you know, he's new to the team, etc. And I think we all know he's probably one of Arsenal's best attackers now. It doesn't mean he's going to start. I don't understand the hype. Okay, I kind of understand it because he's gone to Arsenal. But what I mean by that is people are more hyped about him now, even though he might not start, than they were at Crystal Palace when he was guaranteed to start, had good numbers and penalties, etc. I think he's a worse FPL pick now. And I just think, yes, they got good fixtures coming up. How many of those 5 games between 7 and 11 is he going to start? How many can you guarantee he's going to start? All 5? I think that's really ambitious. So Odegaard being back soon would just put me off Eze even more, I think. So lots of attacking benching headaches this week. Let's go through the list. Right at the top, I've gone for Chris Wood. I know he wasn't involved in Europe for Forest midweek, and now people are worried about his minutes going forward, which you probably should be as a long-term kind of thought process. But for game week 6, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start against Sunderland. We know he's first choice penalty taker. I think he's still a good option this week. But from game week 7 onwards, I probably would be looking to sell him. Then I've gone for Watkins. And I will say, I don't think things are right at Villa right now. Some people might say that's been the case since kind of game week 1-2. But it's starting to look like they've just got problems that Unai Emery's not quite fixing. So I get why people are really down on Watkins and obviously Rodgers as well. But if you've still got Watkins in your team this week, I think you should probably play him against Fulham at home. Fulham are not walkovers. They're a pretty strong defence. But Villa are the home team. So I think you've got to play him if you've got him in your squad. I wouldn't be looking to go out of my way to bench him. He's probably not on penalties though. He took one last night in Europe and missed. And by the way, he's now got 6 goals scored from the penalty spot and 7 missed. He's missed more than he's scored. He is not a very good penalty taker whatsoever. So if you were hoping for them, he's probably not going to have them, I would say. Then Yorkresh against Newcastle away. Usually I'd probably have him above Wood and Watkins. It's just the fixture. Newcastle have defended really well so far. That's why he's in 3rd place. Then Reinders against Burnley at home. Obviously, the reason that a lot of us own him this week is because it's such a good fixture. Then Mateta against Liverpool at home. Penalty taking forward. Absolutely nailed on. I did go back and forth about whether I'd actually play Reinders ahead of Mateta. Because you know I love penalty takers. It's just the fixture. Burnley at home. That's why I ended up putting him slightly ahead. Then Gakpo. Then Wirtz. I'll be honest, I almost had Wirtz quite a lot lower down on this list. But I just feel like he's got to play. He didn't play midweek. I'd be very surprised if Arne Slot benches him again. But I'm more confident in the Gakpo start. That's why he's slightly ahead. At one point, I think I had Wirtz below Dewsbury Hall. And I looked at it again and I thought, I'm not sure I truly believe that. I think Wirtz will start, although I can't guarantee it at this point. I'd just be surprised if he's not in that 11. So I think I would play him. Then Anderson against Sunderland at home, good for defensive contributions, etc. Then Dewsbury Hall against West Ham at home, over Stack versus Bournemouth at home. I think Stack might be the better long-term pick, but Dewsbury Hall's got the better fixture this week. Then Senesi against Leeds away, then Paquetá against Everton away. Then a few more defenders. I've gone Cucurella against Brighton at home. And obviously, he got benched recently, but I think he'll start that game. Munoz, very attacking, but it is difficult to play against Liverpool. And then Dorgu against Brentford away, because Munoz is just a bit more attacking and he's at home. You could argue Dorgu's got the better fixture, but it's an away game, so I've just put Munoz just ahead. So yeah, lots of benching headaches this week. as always with this, I feel like I've got to say this every week. Some of these calls are so close, right? That's why it's a headache. So if you're looking at this list thinking, no, I definitely play Yorkresh ahead of Watkins, or I would have Wirtz below Anderson, Dewsbury Hall, that's absolutely fine. This is not like something I'm absolutely locked in that Wirtz is 100% better than Anderson. It's really close. I just think in that particular case, Wirtz will start, I think. So let's get into some of your questions. Apart from Gabriel, who do you think is the best Arsenal defender? Now, at the moment, their first choice back four seems to be Calafiori left back, Gabriel, Saliba centre backs, and Timber right back. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. And if those four players continue to start every game, I'd probably go for Calafiori because I think he is quite attacking from that left back spot, got threat from set pieces as well, and he's the cheapest at 5.7 million. So that would probably be my pick if I was absolutely sure of the minutes. But you know what I'm going to say? They've got Lewis Skelly there that can play left back. They've got Ben White that can play right back. And if Ben White was to play right back, Timber could play left back as well. That is a possibility. It's one of the setups that Arteta could go for if he wanted to. So for that reason, I'd probably go Saliba. And it's super boring, right? He's 6 million, so he's more expensive than Timber and Calafiori. But no one is going to probably take his place. Now, I can't be as sure about that this season because in Mosquera, they do have a capable backup. And I think Saliba wasn't rushed back because of Mosquera. So his minutes might not be as secure as they've been in previous seasons. But him and Gabriel are going to start pretty much every single game they're fit and available for. They do have West Ham at home in 7, Burnley away in 10, Sunderland away in 11. One of these games, both of Gabriel and Saliba could get a rest. But we're talking about one game in like 6, 7, 8, 9, something like that. Whereas Calafiori and Timber, I just don't think that's necessarily the case. So if you're willing to risk it, or you're just way more confident in the minutes than I am, go for Calafiori or Timber. Because they're a little bit cheaper and they're a bit more exciting than Saliba. But if you want the safety of minutes, I think it has to be Saliba. So who are the best cheap / mid-price midfielders for those looking to do the Salah to Haaland swap? And then the list they've got here is Reinders, Njai, Grealish, Enzo, Matoma and Minter. And then I've put in brackets, what about Kudus? Because I think people will want me to talk about him and I didn't want to forget him. I think if you can afford it, my favourite option of the lot is Njai. Mostly because I just love a nailed-on penalty taker. They're just usually such good picks for FPL. He's a good price. I also quite like the fixtures as well. I think some people have looked at the fixtures and are kind of saying, well, after West Ham at home, it's not that great. But they do get to play that West Ham game. And actually, 4 of the next 6 are at home. Now, Palace, Spurs and Fulham are the other home games after West Ham. They're not easy fixtures. But like I said, they are at home. And I think Everton, from an attacking point of view, look good this year. And one of the away games is Sunderland in game week 10. So I really like Njai. They do obviously have Dibbling there, who can play right wing, and that's where Njai's playing right now. Alcaraz could even take minutes off there as well, but I just don't see either of those things happening anytime soon. We're just going to see Grealish, Dewsbury Hall and Njai lining up behind a forward so often over the next few weeks. So Njai looks great at 6.5. Just to go through the rest of the list, I prefer Njai over Grealish, so I wouldn't pick Grealish. He also can't play in Game Week 8 for all the reasons I mentioned before. Njai's cheaper, he's on penalties, he can play in Game Week 8 because he's not on loan. Enzo, without Palmer, is really nice if he's on penalties, which I think he probably is, but I wouldn't be surprised if João Pedro takes one. Plus, he's a little bit more expensive than Njai, which is why I wouldn't have him quite so high up. I like him. Minter, obviously, I've already mentioned in the team news, had a bit of treatment, but his minutes at right wing should be pretty good. So is Matoma. And actually, I think Brighton are maybe slightly underrated if you look at the fixtures. It's not great because they're walking straight into Chelsea away, but then it's Wolves away, which is fine. Newcastle at home, not easy, but again, they're at home. Man United away in 9. Then it gets really good. Leeds at home, Palace away a bit tougher, Brentford at home, Forest away, Villa at home, West Ham at home. Then Liverpool away in 16, tough. Then it's Sunderland at home in 17. Then Arsenal away in 18 is tough, and then it's West Ham away, Burnley at home. So Minter and Matoma seem to be pretty much nailed left and right wing. And they've got some nice fixtures, and Minter is a good price. So I don't mind going for a Brighton player. It just kind of sucks that you're buying them before Chelsea away. But as a long-term picks, they are good. And then Reinders, I just think is such good value under 6 million. So Njai is probably my favourite. I didn't go for him because to free up money for Gabriel, I had to go a bit cheaper, which is why I picked Reinders. Kudus, by the way, where would I put him on the list? I'd probably go for Kudus over Enzo, I think, because his minutes just look so good. I know Xavi Simons is going to come up in the questions as well. He's probably fine. I just don't know if I'm as assured of his minutes as I am with Kudus right now. Like the next three for Spurs are really good. Wolves at home, Leeds away, Villa at home. My only thing with Kudus is after that, it's just not so good. Everton away, Chelsea at home, Man United at home, Arsenal away. And also, he's not got much of a goal threat. Like so far, in fact, pretty much not much goal threat since he's been in the Premier League. It is more assists. Like he got 2 assists last time out and like only 7 points. I don't know. He blanked 3. I don't know. I think Kudus is nice shorter term. But I think if I was picking for the long term, I would go in Jai, then Reinders, then probably Mitoma over Minter if you can afford it. But if you can't, Minter's a really good option as well. Enzo's fine, right? He's like a cheaper Bruno Fernandes, just doesn't have the guaranteed penalties. So yeah, my choice would be in Jai. And if you can't afford that, I would do what I did and buy Reinders. So Chelsea defence, is Chalobah being overlooked? Over 10 defensive contributions per 90 and consistent goal threat. So I actually had a question about Chalobah versus Tosin last week. And I think I said something along the lines of Chalobah will probably score the most points because of defensive contributions and goal threat. But I'd probably just go for Tosin because he's cheaper. But I ended by saying I probably wouldn't go for either because I don't completely trust the minutes. And then Tosin got benched against Man United. And obviously he came on quite early on because of the red card. But it's just another Chelsea defender that's been benched. It was Cucurella, who we thought was pretty nailed. Now Tosin's been benched as well. I don't think Chalobah's completely immune from missing out at some point. Now, with the injuries they've got right now, he pretty much has to play every minute. But at some point, if Maresca gets the chance to rest him, even if it's in a Premier League game, I think he will take it. So for 5.2 million, if he keeps playing and keeps putting up the defensive contributions he has so far, which is 10 per start, and the genuine goal threat he's got as well, he's a great option. But it is Liverpool at home in 7, and then one of those easier fixtures like Sunderland at home in 9 or Wolves at home in 11. Could he miss out if other defenders are available? I think it's a possibility. Like if you'd asked people last week if Tosin was going to get benched against Man United, I'm not sure many people would have predicted that. And it happened. So I think Chalobah's fine, but I know it's boring to keep mentioning the same players, but you've got like Joachim Andersen, Senesi, people are obviously looking at Byrne. You've got Tarkowski for only 0.3 million more than Chalobah. These defenders are absolutely nailed. They're really good for defensive contributions as well, in the most part. I just don't trust the Chelsea defence, not from how good they are, just from Maresca randomly benching them. I just don't need that headache in my life. So it's not for me. I think if he keeps getting minutes, he is a solid option. So who's better in the short to medium term, Foden or Mbeumo? Man City's next 4 fixtures are really good, and Marmoush and Cherki won't be back until after the international break. So after the international break is game week 8. So things do look pretty good for Foden in game week 6 and 7 especially, but he may well just stay in the team after that as well. I said on a video the other day that I think Mbeumo might outscore Foden in the next 2 game weeks. I think his underlying numbers so far this season have been really good. And Brentford away and Sunderland at home is pretty good on paper. Eventually, the goals and assists are going to come from Mbeumo. So I'm sticking with that. But if you're looking over the next 3 to 4 weeks, it's probably got to be Foden. Because Man United are playing Liverpool away in game week 8. Whereas for Foden, it's Everton at home. So the next 3 for Man City, Burnley at home, Brentford away, Everton at home, just look quite nice. And it's all right making a prediction that Mbeumo might outscore him next 2. But also, it's much nicer to buy the player before the really good fixture. For Mbeumo, you're waiting until game week 7 for that. Like getting Foden right now for Burnley at home looks good. Once Cherki and Marmoush are back, what happens? Who knows? But Foden's getting a lot of minutes right now. He seems to be in a really good place. He's playing well for Man City. I would say fairly anonymous against Arsenal, but that's a difficult game anyway. So I wouldn't worry about that too much. I also wouldn't worry about the fact he played midweek. I just think Pep's trying to play him a lot at the moment. And he said many times over many seasons how fit Foden is and the recovery is always good and stuff like that. So, look, I'm as confident as about Foden starting this week as I'm ever going to be about a Man City player. You can never 100% guarantee it, but I think I'd be pretty confident. Then Brentford away looks good before the break. And then after the break, even if Marmoush and Cherki are back, they're probably only just back, so they're not necessarily going to go straight into the team. You know, against Burnley, right? Could it be Doku left, Savinho right, Bernardo Silva and Reinders through the middle ahead of Rodri and Foden on the bench? It could be, but I don't see it happening. So Foden's probably the pick, 3 or 4 weeks. But if you want a really long-term pick, then I think it's in Mbeumo because the minutes are there. Like it's going to be him and Cunha behind Šeško, or it's going to be Cunha or Mbeumo up front and Mount will come in as the 10. I just don't see Mbeumo getting benched anytime soon. So I'm on wildcard. Which fixture should we target for a bench boost in game week 8? Sunderland versus Wolves at home or Leeds versus Burnley away? Now, thinking about your bench boost, if you've still got it to play, is definitely important. And your bench boost score is important as well, but not as important as your total points scored over the season. What I mean by that is, on paper, Sunderland versus Wolves at home is probably a little bit better than Leeds versus Burnley away. Leeds are going to be stronger than Burnley, but it is an away game. That being said, over the long term, I'd rather have Stack than Xhaka. Not that Xhaka's a bad pick, his defensive contributions have been pretty good, but Stack's taken a lot of set pieces, even direct free kicks. He's got defensive contributions as well. I just think he's going to be a bit more attacking. So even though Xhaka maybe is a slightly better option for game week 8, I much prefer Stack overall. And there are times when you might want to use him over the long term. So that is where I would go. With defenders, it's a little bit different. I still think that Leeds will end up being the strongest defence of the three newly promoted teams. But Sunderland have done really well so far. So someone like Mukiele, for example, 4 million, great for defensive contributions so far, could be worth looking at. So it's not a one or the other. You don't have to go all in on Leeds or all in on Sunderland. You can go a bit of both. But I would mostly think about which players are good for you that week and also which ones are good for the long term. So although specifically for game week 8, Mukiele or Alderete at Sunderland might be really good, actually, when you look at their fixtures afterwards, they're not that great. So Wolves at home in 8, then it's Chelsea away, Everton at home, Arsenal at home, Fulham away, Bournemouth at home, Liverpool away, City away, Newcastle at home, Brighton away. Like, this run is pretty horrible. Whereas if you look at someone like Goodmanson, who I've got, after game week 8, it's West Ham at home, you could play him in that. Brighton away is not great. Forest away is okay. Villa at home is okay. Then to be fair, then it is City away, Chelsea at home, Liverpool at home, not great. But then you've got Brentford away, Palace at home, Sunderland away, looks a bit better. So maybe there's a few more fixtures you could play Leeds defenders in over the kind of medium to long term than there is for Sunderland. But I do think specifically for 8, the Sunderland defender is better. So maybe go for a bit of both. So for my team, things are pretty straightforward going into tomorrow's deadline, mostly because I made my transfers on Sunday, and thankfully Erling Haaland is ready, so the yellow flag has been removed. So this is how I'm set up. Raya in goal, Newcastle away. Not a great fixture, but the alternative is Dubravka against Man City away. So that's an obvious choice in terms of who to play. My back 3 is Anderson against Villa away, Senesi Leeds away, and then Van Dijk against Palace away. Not great to have 3 players away from home. And I do think there's some pretty good defenders for this week with home matches. So free hit teams are going to look really nice. But I'm not in a mad panic about having any of those players long term. Like, there's some good options there. Romero against Wolves, Tarkowski against West Ham, for example, Vardio against Burnley. But I think once I get past this week, my defence looks a little bit better most weeks. It's not perfect, but it's okay. And all 3 of those players are capable of defensive contributions. Van Dijk's got the goal threat, so it's fine. Reinders was my transfer in to get money for Haaland. That's left me with 2.9 million in the bank. That's probably going to be to get Gabriel next week, although that is not locked in. Fernandes is fine against Brentford away, as is Senesi against Leeds away, and then Dewsbury Hall against West Ham at home over Paquetá. Up front, Evan Nilsson Leeds away. I'm not sure I'm completely happy about having the Bournemouth double up, but Evan Nilsson's also not a massive priority to sell. Gyökeres versus Newcastle away. He's a funny one. Honestly, I don't think most of us can get our head around whether he's a good pick or not, and everyone's got serious doubts about him, but he does continue to start. And he is the number 9 for Arsenal. Eventually, I feel like they will make it work, and he's probably on penalty. So I'm more than willing to give him a bit more time before I massively panic. And in the back of my mind, I know that a Gyökeres downgrade to Calvert-Lewin or Meneers, or even like a Guiu for 4.3 million, just to tank that spot, gets me so much money to spend elsewhere. So I'm not really worried about him. He's a nice jump-off point to lots of other players. And then Haaland's Haaland, and I've got my triple captain active. As always, I reserve the right to change my mind before tomorrow. Maybe some little bit of information will come out to put serious doubts on it. And look, Pep did say he had a bit of a back issue after the Arsenal game and that he came off because he was exhausted. But that was also because of the amount of games he'd played. Man United, then Champions League on Thursday, then Arsenal on Sunday. You know, it was a little bit of a difficult stretch. I know some people and stuff would say, just get on with it, right? But there's a reason he came off early. Now he's had like pretty much a whole week's rest. He's played on Sunday. He's not played midweek. The next game's on Saturday. He's fine. It's a really good fixture. The only thing that slightly puts me off is he's not a midfielder. So for Haaland, for example, if he gets a hat-trick, that's 17 points. And by the way, I'd be very pleased with a hat-trick. But for a midfielder like Salah, you only need a couple of returns to get close to that. like if Salah gets a goal and assist, let's say he picks up the clean sheet as well, you're looking at 8 points for the goal clean sheet, 3 more for the assist, that's 11. Then he's probably on 3 bonus, that's 14. So for Salah only has to score once and get 1 assist, and he's almost close to Haaland with 3 goals. That's why midfielders are so tempting to go for. And Salah versus Sunderland at home in game week 14 just looks so good. But it is a midweek fixture, and maybe Liverpool won't be quite on it. I don't know. That's probably wishful thinking. He'll probably be great. But I know Haaland's fit and ready to go. And so that's why I'm going to go now. I think for me, the only other fixture I'd be worried about is that Salah versus Sunderland at home. Like, you could argue that Haaland's better against Leeds at home in game week 13, for example, or Sunderland at home in game week 15. But he's not miles better in those games versus right now. And he might not be fit for those games. Who knows? So really, it is just that Salah-Sunderland game. And look, if I get smashed by people that go that week, so be it. There's not really any other fixture for Salah that I think is massively better than the Haaland game, to be honest. Like, Salah will be gone after game week 16, so you can't even use it on Wolves at home, Leeds at home, because he'll probably be at African Cup of Nations. When I say probably, he'll obviously be there. I'm just not quite sure when he might return, basically. So yeah, for me, it's Haaland this week or Salah against Sunderland. And there is a potential chance that I go without Salah this whole time and just keep the Haaland team and maybe just free hit Salah back in for Sunderland at home and go without him for Leeds away. Like, that is a possibility that could happen. And if I free hit that week, I can't triple captain. So again, I've gone on the wrong page there. I need to scroll up instead and go on to pick team. It's absolutely fine to not triple captain this week. I've said that so many times already. Like, some people were thinking about avoiding wildcard just so they could triple captain. There's no way I would do that if your team needs a wildcard. Triple captain is not essential this week, but it's also a really good time to play it. And I think the only fixture I'm massively worried about is Salah. It's also worth saying, I've almost never had a good return from my triple captain. And apart from last season, I've always played it in double game week. So to never get a good return playing it on players with 2 fixtures is pretty bad. Maybe I'm messing it up again. I don't know. But I'm probably going to keep it active, I think. I don't have as many doubts as I had earlier on this week because obviously Pep has now said he's ready. So yeah, 2 free transfers used, no hits yet. Next week with nearly 3 million in the bank, there's going to be some big decisions to make because if I use all that money on Gabriel, it's then trickier to get it back into my attack. So maybe I go Saka. I could do Semenyo to Saka next week, but there's not really a need to sell Semenyo. So we'll see. I'll leave it there. Good luck with your decisions this week. Make sure to give that video a like if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button as well. Trying to hit 500k before the season ends. And make sure to check out Fantasy Football Hubbies and the links in the description below. 50% off at the moment. Loads of great tools over there which will help you do better at FPL this season. I'll catch you tomorrow for the deadline stream. 9 a.m. UK time. Deadline's 11 a.m. And yeah, plenty of questions to get answered, I'm sure, for all you wildcarders. I'll see you tomorrow.